Hey there, Amplifiers. Thanks for tuning in. One of the coolest things is when you get to connect with other authorities in their industry. They have the attitude, the expertise, and drive to make things happen. And their presence, their energy, how they show up in the world not only inspires those they serve, it inspires others to rise, to elevate, and to amplify. And our guest today is a rock star professional who I'm really excited to have on the show because he has some great knowledge and expertise. He's the founder of JJ, the CPA firm. He's a national speaker, two-time author, tax strategist, and business advisor, and has a plethora of YouTube subscribers. I'm sure it's even more now in the short amount of time that he's been from putting this slides together to the time you're viewing this. And I'd like to welcome to Growth Amplifiers, JJ, the CPA. JJ, thanks for being here today.
Well, you bet. Thank you, Kenny, for having me on. I'm excited for this opportunity. It's a great service that you're putting on by putting out and amplifying excitement, if you will, and helping other people and sharing each other's stories.
That's part of the thing. We can learn lessons by going through our life alone, or we can see others' paths, learn some pitfalls to avoid, and some shortcuts to take that can help us get us to where we want to go. And I thought, there's definitely a lot of people that have heard your name, you're an authority in your industry, and people know who you are. But then not everyone does. So I thought that might be a first place to start, is just kind of sharing your story of how you became the person you are today and why you do what you do. So I'll let you kind of do that self-introduction, and we'll start there.
Well, again, I appreciate that. So I am an actual CPA, certified public accountant. It's not just a title. I have trademarked that name. So any listeners, you may like it so much that you may want to use it, but it's trademarked. Only to say that I've put a lot of time and effort into branding JJ the CPA, but I love being a certified public accountant. My grandfather was one. I didn't grow up around him, but I really enjoyed the annual visits I got with him and the way that I saw that he helped people and the happiness that he seemed to have not only in his own life, but the few times that I saw him interact, not to mention the lifestyle that he had. And with that being said, when I was in high school, this will explain it all, the aptitude test that I took said I was either going to be a movie star or a preacher. And so put those two together. What does that equal? A CPA on social media and YouTube, I guess. But I've got 30 years of experience, all in tax. I've got my own CPA practice. And as my kids were getting older and looking to leave the house, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I want to continue being a CPA and helping my clients. I've got lifelong relationships. I've got a boutique practice, so I've got it right where I want. Got my golf score. Maybe I could do it a little lower, but I was like, what else could I do to challenge myself? And I referred back to, I have always wanted to be a movie star. Preachers don't make all that much money, a lot of respect for them. So I thought, maybe I could share what it is that I'm sharing with my clients, but maybe to a larger audience to do exactly what you're talking about here, which is kind of to amplify basically on helping small businesses and individuals. And then through the pandemic, trying to help those navigate all the things that were going on at that time. And so with that, I love it. And I think that enthusiasm is something that I've always had, but that's probably a little bit of what maybe allows me to stand out in my community of fellow tax professionals, EAs and CPAs. And so with that, I look at also elevating my profession as well and attracting people to not only become a CPA, but a tax professional. So this is why I love being on your show, my friend. I think this is a great opportunity.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story, inspired by the ones before you, but then also following that passion. And similar, I had the passion in music and could like being a showman. By the way, have you seen the movie The Greatest Showman by any chance?
I have not, but I've seen a lot of movies that have that kind of similar story to it. But
It's an interesting story. I've got two little boys who are going to be 9 and 12 this year, and
wow,
when we watched that, they sang the song. I got all campy with them. Anyway,
I love it.
being a showman, right? So you have knowledge and information, but if the only people you share it with are those you serve, like we talked about earlier, you're can I talk? You're limiting the potential of who you're able to serve. You're limiting your impact that you can contribute with the world. And so as you're tuning in, think about that for yourself of by turning up the volume, getting out of your comfort zone, you can really make a bigger impact and serve your mission that much more. So, JJ, I'd love to talk with you about that in more detail about what is that challenge that you see a lot of people are making, maybe in the accountant's world, because I get to work with a lot of accountants, bookkeepers, and CPAs who are great people. They really know their stuff, but they also can be stepping in their own way and preventing their impact. So what are some of the challenges you see that maybe some of your peers, whether that's their mindset or just things that they experience, what is that challenge that might be blocking them?
I think in part, it's a great question because in part, I think it's some of the training we have as accountants, CPAs, enrolled agents, which is that every circumstance that we deal with, meaning with clients, is different from one client to the next. So most of my clients that are individuals are married. If they're not, they're single, but every once in a while you're dealing with somebody that's filing head of household. Why am I giving these examples? Because with accountants, so specifically those in tax, when you're putting information out there, we know that if we say, well, if somebody makes $50,000, we can't just say very simply, so here's your tax, because it would depend on their filing status and what exemptions they would have and or deductions or what their standard deduction is. So there's not a one size fit all. And so that sometimes limits. I know that it did for me for years, and I had to get comfortable with the fact that I really just needed to provide enough information that it wasn't all the way drilling down to the exact answer, because there really isn't unless you take a very specific set of circumstances. And then, especially in the tax world, it could even be a difference of opinion on certain things. So one of the things that I've done in my social media posts as well as in my videos is I've really tried to provide enough information that it's not a full do-it-yourself. It's going to be that you're going to have to read something else. You're going to have to refer to your tax professional. And so what I do in most of my videos, if not all of them, is I provide links in the body of the video or in the body of a post that says, here's where you would go for complete information that would hopefully give them more ins and outs. So with that being said, I think what we can do in the accounting space is at least put people in the right direction. And with that being said, I think you also see a big challenge in the accounting industry is that really, and this is really a blanket statement, but we're a very conservative group, and I'm certainly not talking about politics. I'm talking about most of us, we're not show people, right? We're there to get a wonderful quality job. We're also dealing a lot with confidentiality. And so with that being said, also, we're a trusted advisor. And so with that, I think what we run into is the personality that's attracted to being an accountant, an enrolled agent, being a CPA. It definitely is outside their comfort zone to now be providing information that, like I indicated, may not be able to be all the way down to the studs, as they say in home building. But also, I think we have to realize that there are so many individuals out there that, and I'm going to critique myself, they don't want to see the way I deliver it. And so I had heard once that somebody said, this was during a seminar, they said, listen, I don't like olives. There's nothing against olives. Olives have never done anything against me. I don't have some preconceived notion. I've tried many different kinds of olives, and I just simply don't like olives. Well, with that being said, there's going to just be a segment out there that doesn't like how you deliver it, how you wear something, how you stated something. And so you have to just be aware and comfortable that there's a majority out there, though, that still does want to hear what you have to say. And they do like the way that you deliver it. And so really in the beginning, I had to, and it probably took me about a year, I had to really realize not everybody wants to watch a video or see a post where somebody has on a stripe, jacket like this and pink and has a collar and want to make sure that we're sharp, right? Mm-hmm. There's many that they want it to be the plain and the vanilla. Some want there to be a chalkboard up there, or they want lots of graphics. They want to be entertained. They want to laugh. So I just had to get comfortable with, well, how do I want to deliver this information? And especially in social media, whether you're trying to bring on new business or not throughout that, it's more just, well, then be authentic. And I think that's what maybe has attracted many to want to watch or take part in some of the seminars that I do, because I've just really gotten comfortable with myself in just being comfortable with, if you will, being myself, and realizing there's going to be those that they're not going to take to it. And so what do we always focus in on, right? The criticism or the negativity. And with that, it's not that we have to be callous to it. We don't have to react to it. Here's a great thing in social media, Kenny. What I do is I just simply delete those comments. I don't even read them. I just get rid of them. And guess what? It's probably 1 out of 250 posts or videos that somebody's critical of something that I've said, or maybe how I delivered it. And I think, so of 250 videos, let's say I've reached 1 million people, and one of them thought that I was too excited, or one of them thought I was too showy. Well, that one person, if I only listened to them, would have maybe affected 1 million other people of at least hearing my message. And it's not that I've made a difference in people's lives by saving them per se, but I've helped them in some way. And with that being said, of those 1 million people, it maybe put them on a different track. It solved something they were trying to solve, or debunked something that they thought, or put them in the right direction. And maybe 75% of them didn't even do anything with the information, but I delivered it nonetheless. And so I think those two things, and for many, I would say this in the accounting industry, there's not a lot of us out there directly in the tax world, directly in the accounting world, providing anything out there. And so what I would say is what they say in social media is we're in blue waters. Yeah. What would be red waters, right? Red waters, there's a lot of people already doing what you're doing on social media. So a lot of competition, a lot of ways that you can get bit. What happens when you get bit, right? What would make the water red? We're in the blue water. So it should be more comforting, if you will. And with that being said, I think that we would better be served with those that are in the industry really getting out and providing that and feeling comfortable with themselves, and maybe pull back and don't provide it all the way till the end, full do it yourself. Provide more information as an additional resource for somebody to really get the solution for themselves.
Hey there, this is Kenny from Growth Amplifiers, here to ensure you get your awesome ideas into action to grow and improve your business and achieve your full potential. Take the first step by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. Take the assessment to get your personalized score. Then select from free resources to learn how to improve your score. Don't wait. Be proactive and take action now by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. And always keep on amplifying. Now, let's get back to the show. So you get people. I think that's great points, JJ. And if you think about it, There's people know their stuff. And if they had a client come to them and say, I have these problems, here's what I'm looking for, I don't know what to do, a majority of people would feel comfortable and confident speaking their knowledge and the experience that they have to someone they serve. But for whatever reason, whether it's the camera staring at it, I know it took me a while to get used to actually talking to a camera and keep my train of thought and erase the mind. I'm like, what am I saying? Or is it the technology? Is it too many decisions? You get overwhelmed, right? There's too many things going on, and then that prevents action. So from a solution, if somebody doesn't know where to go or how to start, what have you found effective for getting your message out there, getting to the point where you had consistency? And initially, if you just post a video or two, you're not going to see something blow up. So you've got to get comfortable and be consistent, work past any doubts to the point of where you're making the traction. So what has worked for you to help you kind of know what to say, find your way, and then do it consistently to get a result?
So if somebody is wanting to do social media to bring business into their business, then they need to approach social media like advertising. And basically you're trying to, out of every post and every video, you're trying to drive somebody to your business. And so I would say if you're doing it from that regard, then approach it like you would with an advertising campaign, which is you're basically trying to bring in business. But if you're really getting on social media to either build a brand, you're trying to maybe expand what you're doing. That's one of the biggest reasons I got on, is I was really full in my practice, meaning there's only so much time in the day. You can only really hire so many employees. And at some point you go, is enough in this area? And to me, I got to the point of saying yes. And so I approached social media with, well, I wanted to maybe draw attraction to a book I could write. And I'd like to provide seminars, both in person and virtual. And I'd like to maybe become monetized on social media. And so I took 2 years really kind of diving into what isn't out there. What's an angle that I can take? Where can I take my authentic self? Where is there maybe a gap, a very small one at that, in which I could provide valuable information? And from that perspective, I then used that time period of putting together the book and the logo and getting things lined up to start trademarking. I was envisioning success, Kenny. And with that being said, by being slow to that, and that's probably because of my training and being a CPA, no one has to take necessarily 2 years. But I really tried to create something that then, as I presented it, it would have been something that people would have seen as consistent. So with that, the next thing is that I did my first video in May of 2018. And by the February point of 2020, so almost 2 years, I had 2,500 subscribers on YouTube, and most of my videos had maybe no more than 30 views. Now, I did a video every single day. Now, I would shoot a video many in one day, and we released one a day. We did 3 posts on Facebook, 3 posts on Instagram, 3 posts on LinkedIn, 3 posts on Twitter. And with that, they were all consistent evenly throughout the day, building, if you will, this brand. And I'm going to tell you, when I hit February of 2020, one of the goals that I had was that I wanted to be at 10,000 subscribers within 2 years. And what is February? Well, for me in the tax world, it's tax season. And I basically at that point thought, you know what? I've had a blast doing this, but by golly, with the time and the effort that is going into this, you know what? I've enjoyed it. I've gotten 2 books. I've got a song on iTunes. Some people know about me. I've built a brand, but maybe I really take this in the area of doing just seminars. And then the pandemic hit, my friend. And with that being said, it was one of those being at the right place at the right time. But because I had 2 years of content, 2 years of videos, so over 700 videos. Now, many of those I took down because they were poor quality or they were outdated. The camera was the wrong angle. I didn't have a great microphone, right? And with that being said, though, I had a brand. I had something that was deep. So I think at the beginning of the pandemic, and people are looking for information on how to help them through all those choppy waters, to say the least, there was a trust factor that I think that I wasn't just now there out of opportunity. And I had already built up the confidence in being in front of the camera and how to deliver a message and as concisely as I could. And with that being said, what I would say is that where do you start? Well, you start by one foot in front of the other, spending a little time before you get onto social media. The next is no one is going to probably see your stuff for months, 6 months, maybe a year, which means that you can take the pressure off of yourself. And that is while you're like a baby, you're teething, the teeth are coming through and it's kind of painful. Well, you have teeth by a very early age, then you have them the rest of your life. So my point is for the first year or two, you're basically unknown. And with that, here's the other great thing. If something changes, you can go back and delete it. The law changes, you can delete it. So a lot of the videos that I did, if you go back now, you're not going to find them because they're old. But as I was putting that information out, I followed that same kind of concept, but I was able to, at least in social media, find the hashtags that work and what kind of thumbnails work and what am I comfortable with and what's too long of a video and what's too short and what did I leave out. So it takes time, but if I'm now wanting to give some advice to somebody that's wanting to have an impact, it's not really to necessarily bring business into their business. I would say that you can take all the pressure off because it's going to take some time for you to get your message down, to get comfortable with it. And in the beginning, Kenny, I talked about way more issues than I'm talking about now. So as I gained notice, if you will, and the type of videos that really weren't striking a chord, I didn't continue. Now, with that being said, it was also areas that I just didn't want to continue to develop. I used to have a number of videos about life insurance. I don't have any now. So with that being said, it's just getting started, being patient, taking pressure off yourself, because first of all, you can delete anything at any time. But the next is no one's going to see it for a while. So you really get to kind of create that. And then from that standpoint, it's what I had indicated earlier. It's being comfortable that not everybody's going to appreciate or want to receive the information that you're providing. But here's the other good thing with social media. They just don't come back to it. And
there you go.
Yeah. And there's somebody on social media, Gary V. Now, I know he could be controversial to some. But with that being said, he said, if somebody leaves a negative comment, especially one that is attacking you personally, he said, feel sorry for that person, because for that person to be sitting wherever they are, to then take the time and watch or read something and leave a negative comment, he said, boy, think of the misery that person is in, and you don't want it to deflect. And the reason that he brought that up is that he, in his opinion, sees that as the number one reason people either stop doing things on social media or don't even get started, is that one critical comment, that one criticism, if you will. And with that being said, you just then have to feel sorry for somebody that couldn't just simply go on to the next post or say, I'm not interested. So it's got to be comfortable with it. But the good that I think I'm doing, again, I said earlier, I'm not changing lives. I'm not enriching.
You are changing lives, JJ. You are inspiring others.
I appreciate that.
One of the things I want to make sure that we get in here is those who are hearing you and they're like, this guy has interesting spin to things, want to learn more about him and what he does. Where could they go and what could they do?
Well, I appreciate that, because I'll tell you this, as we move forward, Kenny, my narrowing of social media is more and more just on YouTube. So I'm JJ the CPA on YouTube. You can hashtag it because I've been hashtagging that now for going on almost 3-4 years. Or I'm at JJ the CPA USA if you're actually having to type that in directly into YouTube. Now, I do occasional posts on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, but I've really found with even more research that my audience, those that more receive what it is that I'm trying to deliver, are really on YouTube. And so I'm now spending the time that I've spent doing all of this, but now more related to YouTube and expanding that into the seminar. So I think the video is what people are more getting that information from.
Really cool stuff. One of the things we have as a tradition of ending these interviews is for you to share a piece of advice. And I really like what you shared with me about the spectator. And that's a great closing thought to kind of close this out here.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be on, to share a little bit. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. And hopefully those that are tuning in, that they do whatever medium that this is being delivered on to sign up to get future and see the past and be a subscriber or be somebody that's going to be able to continue to get what it is that you're delivering. But overall, I would say my piece of advice, whether it's related to social media or not, is stop being a spectator in your own life, right? Like, what are you waiting for? You're the only one, quite frankly, that it matters to on what you think about yourself and or what you think about what it is that you're doing. And so with that, you can either always be in the stands and looking at your own life that others are directing, or you think that you're doing whatever they want you to do. But at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your play, it's your game. And why be a spectator? Why not be involved with that? And so I have fun even with my friends and my clients and sometimes on social media. And I say, listen, and this is something that if you know me, Kenny, you know I'm having fun. But I said, listen, I'm a legend in my own mind. And with that being said, it is, well, what matters right here, right? The 6 inches right here, that's what matters. And most of us, I think, we dictate what we do in our lives, maybe not everything, but in many areas, we dictate what we do in our lives because we're basing it on what we think other people are thinking about us. And in reality, most people aren't spending any time thinking about you or me. They got their own life. They got their own 6 inches to focus in on. And so stop being a spectator, get into action. And with that being said, is if you're happy with what you're doing, you're happy with what you're providing, let's say on social media, really, at the end of the day, that's what matters. And so it's taking action and then being comfortable that as long as you are the one that's satisfied with that, then guess who wins the game? Whoever you say. And I would assume it'd always be you.
JJ, thank you so much for showing up, for being the amplifier you are in the world. It is making a difference in many lives. I know that for a fact. You're an awesome guy. I appreciate you. If you're tuning in, make sure to listen to that message. It's not something we just want to learn things to learn them. We want to put them into action. Take new actions to achieve new results. Be the best you can while you've got the opportunity. Be grateful for what you have, but keep on shining, keep on amplifying. JJ, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And we'll catch you on the rerun. To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.